Welcome to the Heartification podcast, where I interview people on how art has affected their lives and what it means to them. Art has a very special place in my life. It not only makes me feel happy, but it allows me to make others feel special. This podcast is all about how art has made an impact on others' lives, for all ages, all backgrounds, and all walks of life. You can find more about this podcast guest in my show notes. Without further ado, let's welcome my next guest.
There we go.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So wonderful to meet you.
Yeah, wonderful to meet you too.
Yeah. I'm so excited. I was like, wow, I've never had a request from someone of your age before. So I was like, that's so amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
She is an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and model. Please welcome my next guest, Kara Granger.
Hi, everyone. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast today.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, this is great. I love the initiative.
Thank you. So the first question I always ask is, how do you define art?
How do I define art? So I would say art has so many different layers to it, because you can be an artist and work with music. You could be a painter. You could be a designer. I think everyone has their own perception of what that is. So I think art is multi-dimensional.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree with you. Like, my definition is any form you're able to express yourself. So for everyone, it'll be different based on, their experiences and how they are able to express themselves.
Exactly. And even if, somebody's finger painting or somebody's taking photos, like, I feel like it's a really great creative outlet. And I think everyone should have some kind of, option for that in their life.
Yeah, definitely. And what art forms are you exposed to?
So I do have quite a few friends that are in the music industry and that are painter artists. But then myself, I have a clothing line. So for me, when I design a clothing line, that to me is expressing my vision, but through clothes. So I wouldn't say I'm the best drawing artist. I really like sketching, even if they look really strange. I know exactly what my vision is when I get something on paper. And then it's even better when I can have something manufactured and brought to life. So that's my form of art.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing. And, sometimes if someone was to look at someone who's not good at drawing, they would think, oh, that's not good. But, it's just your emotions. And I think that society is always judging, and some people find it difficult to express themselves because they're always being concerned about, oh, how will this person think of this, or how will society think of this, which really they shouldn't be worrying about that, and they should just be expressing themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think fashion is so unique because there's so many layers of what somebody can perceive as something amazing. So as far as if avant-garde, and somebody says, oh, that's very avant-garde, that means it's, usually a little bit crazier, more wild, more of an art form where it looks good on the runway, or it's a fashion statement piece, but it's not something you would wear to the grocery store. So I always find it really interesting when I research other designers, such as Alexander McQueen, just watching documentaries and trying to see what their vision was behind certain collections. It's so fascinating just to see their minds explode and to see the runway presentations that they can really bring to life. So I find that really interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it seems that you were very creative when you were young. So what were some of the artistic things you were involved in?
Yeah, so when I was young, I would say like I have a creative mind. So I was into dance. I was a cheerleader. I did like to draw a lot, just sketch things out. Just trying to think. I don't know. I used to sing, and I actually wanted to become a singer. So I did my singing lessons, and I used to actually sit in my closet as a kid, and I would just try to write my own lyrics. and think of tunes in my head. And so I really have quite a bit of respect for artists who completely write all their own music, because it's hard, and to be able to like, have that come to you and to make it into a full song and add in all the other equipment, especially I don't play other instruments. So you have to really kind of imagine that. But yeah, and then I also used to be into acting. So I felt like that was really expressive as well. And I would take improv classes, and I would be in every single school play. So that would be fun, because even if you would have a verse that you were supposed to memorize or a paragraph, usually I would improvise it to making it my own. So I would kind of spin it and maybe only say a few words of what I was supposed to say, but I would make it into something of which I thought, oh, this is great. This is so much more fun. So yeah, so that's what I was involved in.
Yeah, definitely. Even putting your own twist, like I said, with society, there's so many rules on, how to do this and how to do that, but you just really need to express yourself and, put you into it.
Absolutely. I think everyone should think for themselves and do whatever you feel is good to express yourself, essentially. And another thing that I'm very passionate about is I write a lot. Like, people would be shocked if they knew how many notebooks I have, that I actually write every single day. And I write just obviously lists of things to do, but I actually track what I do every single day in a specific like planner. And then I have other books that are for my goals or my visions or what I want to accomplish. So I feel like putting stuff on paper for me, that is a big thing. So I can only imagine for the professional painters out there, once they have what they have in their mind and then they put it on a canvas, I can only imagine the feeling of stepping back and seeing your masterpiece, come to life. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you have said that Timothy Ferris has had an influence on your life. Can you explain why and how?
Yes, I think he's a fantastic author, and I react to a specific kind of writing. If it's too technical and not relatable, I don't retain the information. So it's kind of like, if you just simplify things, tell me exactly what's up, that's the best. And it's going to actually make me read the book. And I love to read, but if something's not on my style of reading, I just won't finish the book. So I feel a lot of his books are great. They're an easy read, but it gets the information, straight through. But one of my favorite books of his is called, actually, I'm sorry, I just blanked. Tribe of Mentors. So it's about this thick. And it's essentially, he interviewed hundreds of leaders around the world in different industries. So every little chapter is a chapter on an interview of somebody who's really unique. So I find that's really interesting, because if you're like, okay, I only have 3 minutes to read, or I'm in a rush, or this or that, you can actually read a full story and take in that information fairly quick. So I find that for entrepreneurs, that's a really great thing to have on hand. And I also feel too, looking through many of the chapters, Timothy Ferris asks a lot of the same questions to these people. So by the end of the book, you start keeping track of what are the similarities that all of these people have, all of these top high-end people. What is it? So a few things that I've noticed that are quite similar that they say are great for them is meditation. Apparently, when these people added meditation in the morning into their day, they said it started off way better. So I've noticed that was like a consistent trend. So I really enjoy that book, and I think everyone listening, including yourself, you would like it too.
Yeah, that's really cool. And when you were designing clothes, do you feel you were able to express your emotions?
I do. I don't know if emotions. I feel like when I put together a runway show or a photo shoot, I can really kind of be behind the scenes and be really creative of how I foresee an image or a campaign. that to me is a different version of creativity. But when I'm designing, I'm more so thinking about the concept of, or the idea of what I want to get out there. So I always look and see like what isn't available or what is new and unique and different. So my last collection, it was a holiday collection who I did a tribute to my aunt. And I mean, holidays are, you can't go wrong with holidays. You do some sparkly stuff, you do some red, you do some dark colors, just kind of a darker feel to it. But the collection prior to that was pastels. So I felt with pastel collection, that was really unique. The cuts were really different. And I had a lot of fun designing that because it was probably the most different out of anything I've designed.
Yeah, that's awesome. And art can be therapeutic and it can help people through some difficult situations. So has art ever helped you through any difficult times? And if so, can you give an example?
Yes. So back to, I would say back to singing. I mean, I was a lot younger then, but I feel like in certain age groups that you go through in life, you'll realize the problems you have then, they're different than the problems you have when you get older, but they're still problems. So it's still valid. So I felt like being creative and singing or taking photos, like that was something that I really enjoyed that helped step away from reality growing up. And then nowadays for me, just writing, I'd say writing is, I mean, I do love still taking photos. Like I see something and I'm like, I need to capture this in this specific light. And that makes me really happy. But I think writing completely takes yourself out of the world we live in. And it's just your thoughts and it's just a piece of paper and it's just for yourself, no one to judge. And you can just kind of let another part of your mind release, which I think is really beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you can kind of get lost in the art. Like sometimes when I'm painting, I don't really know what's like going on around me. I'm just so focused on, painting.
Yeah, and I'm sure you add certain colors as you see things come together and you're like, okay, like, sometimes you have a blank canvas and you're like, okay, this is perfect. Now you can just do anything you want to it. And whether you're using certain colors, that can completely change to anything. So that's the beauty of it. You're not thinking about anything else except for what's like right in front of you.
Yeah, definitely. And are you attracted to any particular artist?
Well, I do have a friend, Max Jamali, who he actually used to be a fantastic photographer. It was wonderful. And then he was, changed to be an artist. And he's really unique because he takes celebrities' faces and some of his painting or his pictures, what he'll do is he'll do half the face will be Kanye West, and then the other half will be Michael Jackson. And he forms it to make it look like it all fits together. And you obviously know by looking at it, that's Kanye, that's Michael. And then he puts this overlay of really pretty crystals over top. So it's really unique. And I know it's probably hard to describe, but it's really cool. And I love, things flashy. I love, a little bit more the crazier side. So I look at that and I'm just like, oh, wow, that's stunning. And then I also know this woman, she goes by Lipstick Lex, and she used to live in Toronto. And what she does is she creates these beautiful canvases by kissing the canvas. So she makes this beautiful piece of art with her lips and lipstick. So she's done collaborations with MAC, like the beauty brand, all kinds of things. She's been on TV shows, and she's just so creative because she can foresee the image that she wants to create before she obviously has even done anything, and she does it with her lips. And then she's also a great painter as well. So sometimes she'll do a mix, but that's something that's really, really unique. And back when I hosted a few charity events, she did do a live lip painting. So that was really cool.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing what both of them are doing. I think it's really important to be unique so that, there's always going to be a competition and there's always going to be a competitor, but you need to like step it up and be different and unique. And I think what they're both doing is really amazing and really special.
Absolutely. And I feel like in any form of art, you can't think about what other people are doing. If you have your heart set on one specific thing, it's just like, I don't care if 20 people are doing it. If it's going to make you happy, you should do it too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And are you attracted to any particular art form?
I mean, as in, which do you mean? Do you mean like singing or painting, or a specific kind of painting, or which do you mean?
Any art form, like writing, painting, music, anyone that you're most attracted to.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big music lover, and music is such a big part of my life. And I really can respect those artists, because even just growing up acting, I acted as a kid, and coming into an adult, you kind of decide, do I want to do this full time or not? And it's a big risk if you do. And the same with being like a musical artist, because you're just banking on hoping that other people love your music as much as you do. So it can take years and years and years until somebody says, this is the hit. And then all of a sudden you're a sensation. Like a good reference would be, I think it's Lizzo. I'm sure you'd recognize her if you heard her song, but she, I think, recently came up in the last few years. And I think she said that she was staying on her friend's couch or something before, or she was really having a hard time getting by. And then she made this one song that was just sent her over the moon. And now everyone knows who she is in Hollywood. So I really have a lot of respect for vocal artists. And I think there's so many different genres of music, and it's so unique. Because it's so universal. And I love that everyone can listen to the same song, but have a different feeling or a different emotion or perception of what that means to them. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And my Heartification project is all about giving back to the community. So how do you give back to the community?
Yes, I want to say I'm so proud of you for doing that, for taking the initiative. I think that in this day and age, with social media being so constant of how it is and so mainstream, I feel like it's so important to still put out there like, hey, we should do this initiative, or we should, follow our hearts, not so much, worry about the superficial stuff. So I want to give a big props to you. I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
And for me, like, I started my charity group, the Karebear Community, 7 years ago. And I have a variety of different, I guess you could say, structures of the program. So essentially, the first one being, we host a massive charity gala every year. And the first time I did it, I raised $200, and I did it at a nightclub, and it was a cold day, and it was, it wasn't anything spectacular. But year after year, my goal was, no matter how much money we raise, hopefully next year we can just raise a little bit more. It doesn't matter if it's $250 and then $300, as long as we're progressing and as long as we're getting more people involved. That was my goal. So one would be the events. And all the money that we raise at the events, I split into about 5 or 6 existing charity groups. So I actually support the smaller guys. So let's say if you had an existing charity group and you're like, Kara, like, we really need $500 because the women and children need to buy toothpaste, or we need this for the shelter, or, we need socks. Like, I get all kinds of requests. And so by helping the little guys, it's easier for me to spread all the money. And I think that's what helps get other people involved too, because you can show like, hey, I can make $20. I can take this $20 and I can buy, let's say, 15 toothbrushes. And those 15 toothbrushes are going to help 15 different people. So that was my idea when creating that, was just dollar for dollar impact. And then also working with existing charity groups, and then help staffing with volunteers. So sometimes when other organizations, they do need volunteers, they'll reach out, and then I'll get in touch and I'll just do the coordination. And it's all just for fun, and it's all to give back. And I feel like no matter what you're doing in life, you should always consider doing something that, you know, you're not getting anything back in return. And I think that's such a great balance in life. And even if you're helping one person a year, you know, in 10 years, that's 10 people. So that's the way I see it, is every little thing you're doing, it makes a big difference at the end of your life. So I always think, like, how many people can I help in my lifetime? And I started out young as well. Like, I loved doing any charity initiative when I was in school. When I was in grade 5, I'd be like, we should do this. Like, I just loved it because, you know, I'd watch World Vision on TV and I'd be like, what do you mean the kids don't have food? Like, I just didn't understand it. So I was really, you know, into doing what I could to, you know, give back in some way. So that's my little initiative, but I'm really excited to hear actually more about yours.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And as you just said, like, I started out young too. I mean, I started art classes when I was 4, and then, you know, I started thinking about how, like, I started to notice I had a talent for it, and I started to think, you know, how I want to help people, because I always, you know, wanted to, you know, help people and make an impact in the world. And I started thinking, how can I use my talent that I have for art to help people? And then when I went to India in 2018, my grandpa had shown me some postcards, and on the postcards were pictures of paintings that people had done with no arms. So they used their feet and their mouths to paint instead. And I found that really inspiring. And that's kind of just what, you know, sparked this whole project, how people can look at someone who has no arms and think they can't paint, or someone with a disability and think they can't do this or they can't do that, and, you know, put them down. And when the people with disabilities and illnesses come to my pop-up event, the whole thing is for them to, you know, just express themselves without society judging them and people saying you can't do this or you can't do that. And yeah, that's basically all what heartification is.
Wow. I really like how you put it into perspective with the people who don't have arms who are painting, because it's like, if you don't know, like, if you think you can't do something, you're right. You can't, because you're not going to actually try to do it. But opportunity, when it's given to someone and saying, like, hey, here's a paintbrush and a piece of paper, like, just have fun. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be anything. It could be paint splatter, but at least it's something that's, you know, you're doing, you're creating. And I think being in that creative mode per se, it's so amazing because it's so authentic, and it takes you away from the hustle and bustle of life and your problems. And I feel like people, especially this year with things going on with mental health being a little bit more front and center, I feel like art, any kind of form of art, is really therapeutic. And yeah, I just love that, to think that, you know, you're really giving hope and you're putting the idea in other people's heads to, like, be like, hey, like, why don't you try this? You could be amazing, or, you know, you could love it, which brings happiness. At the end of the day, if we're able to make people happier than when I would say, like, leave them happier than when we first met them, you know? And I think that's the circle of life and what everyone should strive to do.
Yeah, definitely. It makes me so happy. Even my pop-up event, all the people with disabilities analysis painting just, you know, just warms my heart. Even there was this one guy who had Parkinson's disease, and I don't think he had painted since high school or something like that. And so he was painting with one hand, and his other hand was shaking. And once he started painting, his hand, you know, started to slow down because of the art being, you know, therapeutic and just helping him. And it was amazing to see how by just that one event, I could affect so many people.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, yeah. I mean, I could only imagine, because I think, and you'll know this, you know, in a few years, like, you know, the next 10 years, you'll really start to see, like, I didn't even know what anxiety was. People are like, I have anxiety. I'm like, what's that? Like, you have no idea of what you, I mean, how your mind reacts to things in the future and stuff. So I think, like, constantly having an outlet, whatever that is, through your life, that you can constantly just turn to when you're stressed out, when you're feeling down, you know, just any time where you can just have your you time, I think that is really important. And like I said, like if I didn't start singing in the shower, nobody would have known I could sing. I wouldn't have even known I could sing, right? Or, stuff like that. If people haven't been placed with a canvas and a painting brush, how do they know they can paint? So I think that's so amazing what you're doing. And yeah, I'd love to hear more. Like, what would be like, let's say if you were to be given $100, what would you do with that $100?
Honestly, I'd probably give it to like an organization that helps people with disabilities and illnesses. Because as I said before, like they're always being put down. They can't do this and do that. So with that $100, they could go and do something that they would love.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So for your pop-up event, do you supply the canvases, like the paint and the canvases, or do other people provide that?
Yeah, so we supply everything from the paint, the canvases, the easels, all the foods and drinks as well. So all that money comes from when I did my fundraiser. I sell my art, and then I have also prints of my art. And so all of the money I raise for my fundraisers goes towards buying all the supplies, and then the people with disabilities and illnesses just come and they just get to paint and express themselves.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I have a proposition for you. I know that we're in COVID times and events are, maybe pushed back in the future, like for everyone. But when you do have your next pop-up event, you let me know how many canvases and supplies you can buy with $100. And I would love to donate that to you.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you.
The only thing I need is you to just tell me, Kara, this is going to give us 5 canvases. This is going to give us how many paintbrushes, or whatever the case is. If you give me a breakdown and you tell me that, we would be happy to support that, because I love that initiative and I'm so proud of you for thinking of that. And I feel like when you're young, you're so much more creative, as far as like you'll take so many more risks because people's opinions don't really stick to you. You just do your own thing, and it's not like people are hovering and talking about it, like, So I just feel like it's amazing that you were able to make that decision and say, we're going to create this initiative, and it's, this could be something you do your whole life and you can help so many people. And it's so amazing that you're starting this now. Like, there's literally no better time to, and it doesn't matter how, whatever age you are. You could be 60, you could be 10. I think it's just amazing that anytime somebody wants to do that, and it's inspiring for everyone else. You don't know how many other 13-year-olds you could inspire. And I think that's amazing. And, the more that you can promote that's huge.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I also think that everybody needs, a little happiness in their day. Even I'm starting these things called care packages. So basically it's just, a box that has canvas and paints and paintbrushes, and someone orders it for someone else and they send it to them, and they can, just express themselves. And it doesn't have to be someone with a disability and illness, it can be your grandmother or your sister. And I think that everyone just needs like a little happiness in their day. And I think art can really do that. If you're having a bad day, I like to call art your little friend. You can just go to them and, express your emotions.
Totally. And I think that, like, as a kid growing up, they have, this, your PE class, your activity class, then you have your art class, your drama class. Things were always so laid out for us as kids. But the older you get, when it's like your schedule can kind of be up to yourself, we drop a lot of stuff. Like, every day growing up, it's like, okay, we have to go to PE. There's no not running around the track. Like, we have to. And then they instill those things in us when we're younger, so that hopefully when we're older, we'll be like, actually, I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go for a run, or you have those lifetime habits. And it's the same with art. Like, it's almost like, imagine if every day, everyone in the world had like a specific time, like, okay, from 4 to 5 every day, you have to sit, drop whatever you're doing, and just focus on something, in that art form. And I think the world would be in a better place, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. People just get so stressed with all these different things they have to do. But really, if they just sat down and, painted or, danced or listened to some music or any art form that they're attracted to, it would just make their day a lot better.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think we overthink things as adults, and we think, oh, we need to go to the doctors, or we need medication, or we need this or that. And sometimes it's just pulling everything back and thinking, okay, maybe I just need a little bit more time doing something I love, or something that's going to relax me, or something that's, not on social media, or something authentic. So I think that's great. And you'll probably inspire a lot of adults to do that as well. You're telling them, hey, take some time out of your week and just go to something that, you can just relax and have fun with. I think we all need to have a little bit more fun.
Yeah, definitely. So how would you like people to get in touch with you?
So I have many Instagram accounts, but my main Instagram account is who is, and then my name, Kara Granger. But then my charity group, which may be more interesting, it's the Karebear Community, and it's Karebear spelled with a K. And on that Instagram, I just post inspirational quotes. I post if we're doing any charity work, any upcoming things, or if there's any Amber Alerts. I always go to that page to push to notify people, just kind of all kinds of stuff. But if anybody else is doing other charity work or initiatives, like such as yourself, and you want to tag me, then I can just repost it and just do a little shout out and just be like, hey, guess what this person is doing? Isn't this phenomenal? And I think, getting people involved and giving praise to other people, I think that's great. So if there's any way I can help anybody else, or, think of any volunteer projects, anyone can just send me a message.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, no, thank you. This is the highlight of my day.
Well, have a great day. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Remember, if you want to find out more about this guest, please go to my show notes where I have all the links needed. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to my podcast series and help me by sharing it, leaving a rating, and a comment. I hope you join me on my next podcast. Bye for now.